We're just learning that not only is the U.S. Senate and the Biden administration pushing for more funding to keep the deadliest war in Europe since World War II going for as long as possible, but late yesterday, Reuters broke a story that Washington, the Biden administration, killed a deal for a ceasefire offered by contacts in the back door reaching out on behalf of Vladimir Putin. It seems your country's leaders don't actually want a peace deal in Europe, but instead want to shovel billions of dollars, your taxpayer dollars, money we don't have, to fund the ongoing and deadly war. The problem is Americans, ordinary taxpayers like you and me, don't support this. Not at all. Poll after poll shows that Americans reject the idea of being involved in Ukraine's war any further. And some people actually get it on Capitol Hill, like Senator Rand Paul, for one. Here's what he had to say.
Open the champagne, pop the cork. The Senate Democrat leader and the Republican leader are on their way to Kiev. They've got $60 billion they're bringing. I don't know if it'll be cash in pallets, but they're taking your money to Kiev. Now, they didn't have much time, really no time and no money to do anything about our border. We're being invaded. A literal invasion's coming across our border. 800,000 people came illegally in the last month, and all they had time to do in the Senate was get the money, get the cash pallets, load the planes, get the champagne ready, and fly to Kiev.
Of course, fly over, deliver that money. Rand Paul, not the only one standing up for you. When 22 Republican senators, believe it or not, voted in favor of sending another nearly $100 billion out of the country. And how nuts is it when Bernie Sanders is among the sane ones voting no? Well, the good news is some Republicans are still voting properly and tongue-lashing the others. Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri, outlines how that money headed to Ukraine will actually get spent. Here he is.
Oh, no, we've got plenty of money. And I have listened carefully to colleague after colleague of mine come to this floor and stand where I am now and say, it's so important that we spend this money on these overseas wars. We must spend the money. If we don't spend this money now, why, it may cost us more money in the future. No, it's imperative. It's imperative that we spend this money. Meanwhile, these same people turn to the citizens of Missouri and say, you're not worth a dime. They say, you can't have a penny. They turn to the residents of Kentucky and Tennessee and Alaska and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and Texas, and they say, we don't care that you were poisoned. We don't have a dime for you. We have unlimited money for Ukraine. We're going to rebuild the borders of Ukraine. That's in this bill, but we don't have anything for you.
Nothing for you. We have nothing for you. That's just the beginning of the warning lights, by the way. Mayday, mayday, mayday. We're going down, America. Sure feels that way some days, doesn't it? Yeah, America's in real trouble. I mean, look around. I mean, Joe Biden's dismal news conference last week when he called Egypt's president the president of Mexico, right after yelling about just how mentally sound he is, well, that epic failure is still rippling across the nation and, frankly, around the world. The truth is, no sane person would want a guy who is not mentally fit to stand trial to be waltzing into an ice cream parlor with the nuclear codes in tow while he searches out the first girl he can for a good sniff. But the Democrats are working overtime to convince you that old Joe, he's A-OK. He's a hard worker. He's sharp. He's the smartest guy ever. If you don't believe me how far they'll go, listen to this.
President Biden, who I've been around numerous times just in this last year, is sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart, he's on his game.
I was in almost every meeting with the president, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe.
I have seen Joe. He's in meetings. He looks at people. People look at him. Thank you, Kamala, for that incredibly, ridiculously pointless update. But there are plenty of folks on the left that know the jig is up, and Joe's not ready for prime time anymore. I think plenty of those folks don't really think he ever was. I didn't. Here's longtime Democrat strategist James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, for example, sharing his thoughts. Listen.
When you don't accept the Super Bowl interview, you're, I don't know, pulling averages, you're 3 points down in a two-way. It's the biggest television audience, not even close. And you get a chance to do a 20, 25-minute interview on that day, and you don't do it. That's a kind of sign that the staff or yourself doesn't have much confidence in you. There's no other way to read this.
Yeah, he's old. Let's be honest. And every day there is more evidence that Joe's getting worse. Most days he doesn't even have anything on his schedule, nothing. As his handlers try their best to shield him from the spotlight and as far away from reporters and cameras as possible, because they know anytime he wanders out, anytime he comes out, there's a very real possibility that he'll have the final meltdown that will leave no other option except exercising the 25th Amendment, which should probably happen now.